Well, by far, the most common bit used by horsemen are snaffle bits. Whether you're riding English or Western, it doesn't really matter. Most horses are started with the snaffle bit, at least in their initial training. Now, they may progress into another bit as time goes on, but most of them are usually trained in a snaffle. Now, there are hundreds, probably hundreds of different kinds of snaffle bits out there, and they are all designed for specific reasons, designed to work with different horses and different kinds of problems that horses have. But they are all alike in this one way. Snaffle bits all allow the rider to have direct contact with the horse's mouth. In other words, when the rider tightens his right rein, for example, that will exert pressure on the right corner of that horse's mouth and tell him to go in a certain direction or to slow down or what have you. But it's directly connected from your hand to the horse's mouth. As direct contact, it's probably the easiest kind of contact for a horse to understand. I'll talk about curb bits in a while, and those work very differently. But there's a lot you need to know about snaffle bits and how to select one that is appropriate for your horse and your horse's sensitivity and training level. You need to consider, for example, the diameter of the mouthpiece. That's really an important consideration. The size and shape of the rings. That's also something that affects how this will work on your horse. And say the material that the mouthpiece is made of. Is it steel or is it rubber? Has it been wrapped in some kind of latex material? Your horse might require a certain bit given his level of training or his level of sensitivity. And you need to find out about these things before you select the snaffle bit for your horse. So check out my blog at equestriantackguide.com and you'll see all kinds of information there about snaffle bits. Now for today, I'm going to discuss some of those more pertinent factors that I just mentioned. The most important thing to remember is that snaffle bits vary in the size of their mouthpiece. That's probably the most important thing to consider. The larger the diameter of the mouthpiece, the easier that bit is in the horse's mouth. The smaller the diameter, the more harsh that bit is in a horse's mouth. As you know, if you were to take a crayon, a child's crayon, and press it in your hand, that would not hurt as much as, say, taking the pen tip and pressing that in your hand. It's the same concept with a bit in a horse's mouth. So you're going to have to select one, a size, that is suitable to your horse's sensitivity level. And you know, some horses are really sensitive, others are not at all. I mean, you've got some of these old timers that have been carrying around a bunch of young riders for a long time and they've had it all, so their mouths are probably a little more desensitized than others who are new to a bit and are experiencing it for the first time. Now, the rings of a snaffle bit also vary a great deal. If you have one that's got a really small ring at the corner of the mouthpiece, if you're not careful, that small ring could be pulled through into his mouth if you're not careful. But the larger rings will not allow that to happen so much. And those rings, your most common ones you're going to find are the round ring, you're going to find the D ring, there's one called the egg butt ring, and a full cheek snaffle. These all kind of speak for themselves, but they are different styles and can affect how you manipulate your reins and how it affects, you know, how your horse reacts. So you'll have to look at that as well. There are some other variables to consider. Like I mentioned, the mouthpieces are generally made of a stainless steel, but some of them are made of rubber. And you will, if you have a stainless steel bit and you want to make it softer for your horse, you can buy material. It's a latex kind of material that you can wrap around the diameter of the bit and take it all the way across, if you like, to soften the effect of the bit in your horse's mouth. On the other hand, some of these mouthpieces can be very severe. Some of them have very sharp edges. I've seen some that are twisted so that you have edges that roll around and they go all the way across the horse's mouth. Those can be very severe. But the bottom line about the severity of a snaffle bit is this. Whichever snaffle bit you use, it's the rider's hand and the rider's feel that really determines the severity of a bit in a horse's mouth. You know, you can have a rider who has very soft hands, who uses a very severe bit, but doesn't do any damage to that horse's mouth. And on the other hand, you could take a big fat snaffle with somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, who's jerking and jamming around with their reins, and create a lot of damage in a horse's mouth. So keep that in mind. Like I said, there are hundreds of variations of snaffle bits, and if you visit my website at equestriantackguide.com, you'll find a lot of information there that will help you decide what kind of bit you're going to need that's going to be suitable for your horse.